study,
and play come together on a Windows 11 PC.
And for a limited time, college students get
The best
of both worlds. Get the Unreal College Deal. Everything you need to study and play with select Windows 11 PCs. Eligible students get a year of Microsoft 365 Premium and a year of Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with a custom color Xbox wireless controller. Learn more at windows.com/student offer. While supplies last. Ends June 30th. Terms at aka.ms/collegepc.
Welcome to This Feels Familiar. I'm your host, Minaa B. I'm a therapist, author, and creator of the Siblinghood Theory. And this show explores the themes of belonging, conflict, and the relational patterns shaping your life. Let's dive in. Imposter syndrome is usually framed as a professional issue. So you're successful, but you feel like a fraud. You've achieved things, but you're waiting for everyone to realize you're not as good as they think. You attribute your success to luck rather than skill, and you may even downplay your accomplishments. You might also live with chronic self-doubt despite evidence that you're competent. And most advice treats imposter syndrome as a mindset problem that you can think your way out of. We might hear quotes like, reframe your thoughts, focus on your achievements, remember you deserve to be in the rooms you occupy. But here's what most advice misses. Imposter syndrome isn't just self-doubt. It has roots. And for many people, those roots go back to childhood, to growing up competing with siblings and peers for limited love, attention, recognition, and praise. And that is what we are going to be talking about today. Through the Siblinghood Theory, which is a framework that I created, there are 6 dimensions that I recognize that siblings and peers have to navigate through life. And by navigating these 6 dimensions, it can influence how they develop connections, build friendships, but also how they navigate belonging in life. The first dimension of the Siblinghood Theory is competition and scarcity, which is when you grow up in an environment where love and recognition feel scarce, where you're constantly competing with siblings or peers to prove you're worthy of attention. You internalize a very specific belief such as, I don't belong here, I'm not good enough, I have to earn love and recognition, but nothing I ever do is enough. And that belief follows you into adulthood. It shows up as imposter syndrome. So before I get deeper into today's episode, I'm going to ask that you please take a moment to subscribe to the show so that you don't miss an episode moving forward. So what exactly is imposter syndrome? It is the persistent feeling that you're a fraud despite evidence of your competence and success. You've accomplished things, you've earned degrees, built a career, received recognition that is most likely deserved, but internally, you feel like you've somehow fooled everyone. You think if they really knew me, they'd realize I'm not that good. You might attribute success to luck or timing or other people's help rather than your own abilities. You may also downplay your achievements. If somebody praises you for your hard work or your accomplishments, you dismiss the praise. And deep down inside, no matter the amount of success you have, you still feel insecure. You're always waiting for the other shoe to drop, for someone to expose you as the fraud you believe you are. And here is something that I think is really important to sit with. Imposter syndrome isn't humility, because often I will hear people say, well, I'm just being humble. I don't really think that's accurate. Humility is accurate self-assessment. Imposter syndrome is chronic self-doubt rooted in a deep belief that you don't actually deserve your success, your recognition, or your place at the table. That's not humility. That's insecurity. So where does that belief come from? Let's dive into the Siblinghood Theory and the first dimension, which is competition and scarcity. The question here is, how did you learn to navigate competition when resources, love, praise, recognition, and attention felt scarce. Because when these things feel limited, children learn powerful lessons about belonging, worth, and whether they're deserving of those things. So here are some things that I want you to be paying attention to when it comes to how we navigate competition and scarcity throughout life. The first thing is you watch others get what you couldn't access. If you grew up with siblings or peers who consistently received more praise, more attention, or more recognition than you did, you can internalize something painful, which is other people are more deserving than I am. So when I talk about peers, especially for those of you who are only children, think about classmates, think about cousins, think about other children who I call your surrogate siblings, who you may not be related to them by blood, but you still were in environments where you recognize that other people got more than you. And it could have created this framework that I'm not deserving and I am not enough because I'm constantly watching other people get more than what I get. You also might watch your siblings get celebrated for a B plus while you get criticized for an A minus. You watch your siblings' accomplishments get announced to the family while yours were mentioned in passing. And the same thing can apply where you watch your peers get awards, invitations to birthday parties, and you don't, and recognition while you're constantly overlooked. And the thing is, you recognize that you really tried. You worked hard to try to achieve the things that you set after, but it never seemed to matter. Either your siblings' success was more visible or celebrated or validated, or your peers' accomplishments got more attention. And overall, the main point here is that yours didn't. So you started to believe, well, there's something wrong with me because other people are getting more. Other people are more deserving. I have to work twice as hard just to be seen. And that's where imposter syndrome takes root. In the childhood experience of watching others receive what you couldn't access no matter how hard you tried. Another way imposter syndrome takes shape in our childhood is in families or peer groups where love and recognition are distributed based on performance. In these types of family dynamics, children learn that belonging must be earned. You're only valued when you're achieving, performing, being good, or even meeting your parents' expectations. So you learn early that your worth is tied to what you produce, not to who you are. So you became an overachiever. You thought, if I just do more, if I'm just better, then I'll finally get the recognition I'm watching my cousins receive, or my sibling receive, or my peers receive. And here's the painful reality. What happens when that recognition never comes? Because the issue wasn't your performance. The issue was that love and recognition were being distributed inequitably. And so if you grew up with siblings, you might have noticed there was a golden child in the family system while you were the scapegoat. Somebody else was the favorite, you were not. And even without a sibling, you may pick up on the fact that other kids are preferred over you. So as I said earlier, you may not be getting the invites to the birthday party, or you notice very quickly the people who are forming friendship groups and you're not a part of it. And no amount of achievement on your part was going to change that. Now, here's the thing though. You didn't know that as a child, so you kept going and you kept trying. And that pattern most likely followed you into adulthood. We also need to talk about when nothing is ever good enough. This is the specific experience that creates the most intense imposter syndrome. When you did achieve things, but your achievements were never acknowledged, celebrated, or validated in the way you noticed your siblings were, or even your peers were. So you got good grades, but they were not good enough. You won an award, but it was dismissed because it wasn't a big deal. Maybe that particular award wasn't the best award to get. You accomplished something meaningful, but it was overshadowed by your sibling's lesser achievement that somehow got more attention, or it was overshadowed by a peer in your class or just someone else that you have known or grew up with. And the message you internalized was, I'm fundamentally inadequate. No matter what I do, it won't be enough. I don't deserve recognition, because that's what it's clearly being made clear in this environment, that there's nothing that I can do that's ever going to get me to a place where I can get the same level of praise that my friends get or my siblings get. That belief becomes the core of imposter syndrome. You achieve things as an adult, but you can't internalize your success because you learned that your achievements don't actually matter. I also want to highlight that there are times where some people grow up in environments where they're taught that recognition makes you greedy. Some children grow up in environments where wanting recognition is seen as selfish or arrogant. So you're told, don't brag, don't show off, be humble. Your sibling didn't get X, and so don't show off, don't make them feel bad. And while humility is valuable, what often happens is that children learn they shouldn't want recognition at all. So when your sibling gets praised and you feel jealous, you're told you're being petty, you're being childish. When you want your accomplishments celebrated and they're not, you're made to feel like wanting that makes you self-centered. And so you start to internalize it. And you start to tell yourself wanting recognition is bad and I shouldn't need validation. I should just be content with doing good work quietly. But here's the reality. It's normal for humans to want recognition. We need to feel seen, valued, and celebrated. And when you grow up being told that wanting those things makes you greedy or selfish, you develop shame around success. You achieve things, but you can't enjoy them or own them because deep down you still believe that wanting recognition makes you a bad person. That is imposter syndrome at work. The inability to claim your success because you learned that wanting to be seen was wrong. So let's pivot into how this shows up in adulthood, because imposter syndrome rooted in childhood competition and scarcity doesn't just stay in childhood. It shapes how you navigate success, but most importantly, belonging as an adult. So I want you to pay attention to some of these signs to see if you are engaging in some of them. The first one is you overwork to prove yourself. You work harder than everyone around you, not because you love the work, but because you're trying to prove you deserve to be here. You think if I just work hard enough, achieve enough, produce enough, then maybe I'll finally feel secure. But here's the thing I need you to understand. No amount of achievement makes you feel secure, because the insecurity isn't about the actual competence. It's about the belief you internalized in childhood that you're fundamentally not good enough, no matter how hard you try. So you keep overworking, you keep over-delivering, you keep trying to earn your place, even when you've already proven yourself 100 times over. Another thing that you might do is you might attribute success to luck and not skill. When something goes well, you dismiss it. I just got lucky. The timing was right. Other people helped. And yeah, that could be actually true. But sometimes that's not true. You deflect credit, you minimize your role, you can't internalize that. You actually earned your success through skill, effort, and competence. And this might happen because as a child, your achievements were dismissed or attributed to external factors. So you learned not to trust that your success is actually yours. You learned to see yourself as an imposter who happened to be in the right place at the right time. Another major sign of imposter syndrome is you can't accept praise. When someone praises you, you deflect. You might say things like, oh, it was nothing. Anyone could have done it. I just got lucky, right? You literally just ignore all the effort that it took for you to get the thing that you got. And this happens because you feel uncomfortable. You don't believe the praise is accurate. You think if they really knew me, they wouldn't be saying this. And this might be because the praise you needed as a child never came. So you don't trust praise when you receive it as an adult. You assume people are being nice or they don't really know you. Or you might even think they're mistaken, especially if you grew up in a family dynamic, again, where there were roles at play, and you were the scapegoat, you were the lost child, you were the invisible child, and there was a family hero. And so you're thinking to yourself, they're the one who deserves the praise, not me. They're mistaken. You have the wrong person. I'm not the smart sibling. I'm not the smart child. It's always someone else. Someone else has always been better than me. So how could you be praising me? Because generally, I am so used to others getting praise before me. Another thing that happens is you're waiting to be exposed. You live with a constant low-level anxiety that someone is going to realize at some point you're not as good as they think, that your success was a fluke, that you don't actually belong here. So you might think one mistake and everyone will see that I'm a fraud. And as a result of that, you can't relax. You're chronically in this state of hypervigilance, which takes away your ability to rest, but also to enjoy your success, because you're always waiting for the exposure that will confirm what you've believed about yourself all along, that you're not actually good enough. And again, this ties back to childhood wounds of also believing and feeling as if I'm not the right person. I'm not the person who deserves this praise. There's no way anyone is going to see me. I'm never seen. So as a result of that, you're concerned that you're going to be exposed. And so I want you to just think about how a lot of this ties back to early childhood wounds. And this is the most important piece that always comes up in the work that I do. It is this chronic feeling that you don't belong. Even when you're in spaces where you've earned your place, whether it be professional settings, social circles, even recognition ceremonies, you feel like an outsider. You look around and think everyone else belongs here. I'm the one who doesn't fit. And this might happen because as a child, you learned that belonging is something other people get. Maybe your sibling gets it. Maybe your other friends in school get it, but you were always trying to earn your way in, and it felt like it never worked out for you. So now, even when you're included, celebrated, or recognized, you can't shake the feeling that you don't actually belong. You might say to yourself, again, going back to the fear of being exposed or not being able to accept praise, you might think to yourself, I really don't deserve to be here. They must have made a mistake when they picked me for this award ceremony. I don't belong here. Another thing that happens is when belonging seems so easy for other people, but you were always the sibling or the peer who was ostracized because you were different. You were ostracized maybe because of certain quirks and your personality, right? You recognize that you were always just on the out as a child. And so now when you are in spaces where you don't have to work hard or even beg to be in those rooms, it's hard to understand, well, how did this come so easy? Because as a child, it was so difficult to belong. As a child, it was so hard to get people to want to be my friend. As a child, it was so hard to get invited to the birthday parties. As a child, it was so hard to get any kind of praise or love from my parent. And so now as an adult, how in the world did I end up here? There's no possible way me just being me got me into this environment. Something must be wrong. Something must be taking place that I don't understand. It can't possibly be that I'm just good enough as I am. I really want you to sit with what that feels like for a second. So I'm going to pause and I'm going to ask that if this is resonating with you, please subscribe to the show and leave a review. But also, you might know someone who needs to hear this episode. So share it with a friend, because this can play a role in helping people navigate their own shame, but most importantly, heal their early experiences of scarcity and competition in their early relationships.
Good sleep is everything. That's why Ollie's Science Back Support is made with a blend of melatonin and L-theanine for both kiddos and grown-ups. So when your mind won't switch off, you've got something that can help. Your racing thoughts and restless nights won't stand a chance. Find Ollie Sleep Solutions for the whole family at ollie.com. That's OLLY.com.
REI has ultralight backpacking gear. So for you gram counters and ounce shavers, we made this ad ultralight with a base weight of just 13 seconds. The next 17 seconds, pure trail. Find more with less in-store and at rei.com.
So let's pivot to some strategies that you can utilize to address imposter syndrome, because you don't have to spend the rest of your life feeling like a fraud. You don't have to spend the rest of your life feeling this great sense of inadequacy and having this perception that you don't belong. A lot of this work might require you to go back to your early childhood wounds and start to repair and address your competition and scarcity wound. And so here is what I'm going to walk you through. I'm going to walk you through a few steps so that you can begin doing this work, and so that you can begin feeling proud of yourself and recognizing what you've earned in life. The first thing is that you need to recognize the roots. Start by connecting your adult imposter syndrome to its childhood origins. So ask yourself questions like this. Did I grow up competing with siblings or peers for limited recognition, love, or attention? Did I watch others receive praise, love, or attention that I couldn't get access to? It always felt inaccessible to me, but it came so easy to other people. It came so easy to my siblings. It came so easy to other peers, but it just didn't come to me. Was my worth tied to what I achieved rather than who I was? And were my accomplishments dismissed chronically or even minimized? Understanding where this belief came from helps you see that it's not an accurate assessment of your current competence. It's an old pattern formed in response to real inequity. You're recognizing that love, care, resources, time, attention, all those things, they were not distributed equally among you and other people. And as a result of that, it left a scarcity wound. And I want you to recognize where this came from and how it formed, so that you recognize this has nothing to do with my current level of competence. This has to do with old pain that I'm still carrying. The next thing I want you to do is separate your siblings or your peers' treatment from your worth. So if you grew up watching a sibling or a peer receive more recognition than you need to actively separate their treatment from your value. Your sibling getting more praise didn't mean you were less valuable. It meant your parent was playing favorites or had limited capacity for equitable attention. Your peer getting more recognition didn't mean you were less talented or less lovable. It meant resources were distributed unfairly. The scarcity you experienced was real, but I need you to understand it was not a reflection of your inadequacy. It was a reflection of an unjust system. And those are two uniquely different things. The next thing is to practice internalizing your success. So when you achieve something, practice saying, I did that. I earned this. This is mine. Don't deflect. Don't attribute it to luck, especially when you know it was your skills and your expertise that got you to where you are. Don't minimize it. I need you to claim it. This will feel uncomfortable. It might even feel a little arrogant, but it's not. It is accuracy. You worked for your success. You developed skills. You earned your place, and you're allowed to own that. So even if you have to write it down, put it on a sticky note, hang that sticky note on your mirror, put that sticky note in your car so that you can see it when you're driving. Have that sticky note as a screensaver on your phone. Just do something to constantly remind yourself that you earned what you have. You got yourself this far. Learn to own your success and be proud of it. The next thing I want you to do is to challenge the never enough belief. When the voice in your head says, this isn't good enough, you need to be doing more, one mistake will expose you, I really need you to challenge it. You need to ask yourself, is this true Or is this the old belief from childhood that nothing I did was ever enough? You have to remind yourself, I don't have to earn my worth through endless achievement. I don't have to be perfect to deserve recognition. I can make mistakes and still be competent. Another thing that you have to think about too when it comes to challenging the never enough belief is, I think it's very, very vital to sit with your success and your accomplishments, especially if you are a high achiever, because often we will create these boxes for success and we don't realize that we actually checked a lot of them off. But the way your brain works is, in order to be good enough, I have to keep going. I don't get to take a moment to pause and celebrate all that I achieved. I'm a fraud anyway. I barely did this on my own anyway. I didn't earn it anyway. So you just keep adding to the to-do list. And by doing that, you never really give yourself a moment to say, wow, look at what I did. Wow, look at what I was capable of. Wow, look at how hard I worked to get the thing that I said I wanted and I did it. Truly, truly, truly sit with this and ask yourself, before you add to the to-do list, do you sit and rest in the beauty of what it means to have accomplished something? Because if you don't, if the baseline is always moving, nothing is ever going to be good enough. So the only way to challenge that is to learn to literally savor what you have already done. To savor what is in front of you before you go back in the kitchen to start cooking again. Sit down, enjoy the meal that you prepped and prepared with your hands and with your mind and with ingredients. Sit down and acknowledge what is in front of you. You made that. You deserve to savor that moment before you go back out into the world to produce again. So if you want to challenge that belief you're not enough, you also have to be okay with the enoughness that you already have instead of always trying to do more. The next thing that you have to do is to stop comparing yourself to others, because imposter syndrome thrives on competition and comparison. You look at others and think, they're the real thing. They're the smart one. They're the one who earned this particular thing, or they're the ones who's just better and I'm just pretending. What you need to understand, and people can lie to you, people will tell you stories. The number one thing I need you to understand about everyone in society is that we are all trying to figure it out. Everyone has moments of doubt. And the people you're comparing yourself to are likely dealing with their own versions of imposter syndrome. They may have learned how to navigate it a long time ago. They also may have grew up in healthier environments that allowed for them to have healthier self-esteem. But even then, they have faced life challenges and had to figure it out. So stop measuring yourself against others and start measuring yourself against your own growth. I also want you to build relationships where you're seen and valued, because one of the most healing things you can do is surround yourself with people who genuinely see you, value you, and celebrate you without you having to perform for it. So find people who recognize your competence, who praise you sincerely, who remind you that you belong, and who don't make you earn that validation. You deserved that as a child. And it really sucks if you didn't get it. But if you didn't get it then, you can still build it now. It's not too late. It's not too late to build the healthy relationships that you know you need to thrive in life. So surround yourself with people who really get you, who see you. But you also have to remember that in order to be seen, you have to be willing to show yourself. So when you are cultivating community, show up as the real you. Not as the, oh, I think I'm a fraud, so I have to pretend and I have to play dress up. No, show up as the real you. Be authentic in who you are. Be genuine in who you are. Let people see who you are and who you can be to them. And that's going to allow you to recognize, oh, people can like me for who I am. I'm actually not a fraud. I'm actually not an imposter because I'm deserving of love. People can give me love just for being me. The next thing I want you to do is grieve what you didn't get, because part of healing imposter syndrome is grieving the recognition you should have received as a child, but you didn't get it. You should have been celebrated. You shouldn't have been pit against your sibling or your classmate. Your accomplishments should have mattered. You should have been told you were good enough, that you were loved, that you were smart, that you were capable, without having to prove it constantly and without having to be compared. It should have never been, well, you need to be just as smart as your brother. It should have never been, you need to be just as smart as your cousin. You are your own person. And I'm sorry that there are people around you who didn't know how to give you what you needed. So grieve that. Acknowledge the loss and then work on giving yourself the validation you didn't receive. And lastly, I want you to reframe what success means. Stop defining success as finally feeling secure, finally proving I'm good enough. Those are moving targets shaped by childhood scarcity. Start defining success as doing meaningful work, growing in your competence, using your skills to contribute, and even building a life that feels authentic to you. Define success by things that can feel grounding, things that can help you feel like you are building a solid, unshakable foundation. Because success isn't about earning your worth, it's about living in alignment with your values. So here's what I want you to take from this episode. Imposter syndrome isn't just self-doubt. It's rooted in real experiences of scarcity and competition in your early relationships with siblings and peers. You grew up watching others receive love, attention, and recognition that you couldn't access. You learned that belonging must be earned, but nothing you did was ever enough. And that belief followed you into adulthood. The inadequacy you feel isn't real. It's a pattern formed in response to inequity. You weren't less deserving as a child, but you were in an environment where resources were distributed unfairly. And you're not an imposter now. You're competent, skilled, and worthy of the success you've earned. And even if you feel like you haven't earned it yet, it's okay to be a student through life. It's okay to still be developing skills. It's okay to still develop competency as you go. So recognize that it doesn't mean that you're an imposter if you're still trying to improve. But what I do want you to understand is that you don't have to keep proving yourself to people. You don't have to earn your place. You don't have to achieve endlessly to deserve love and recognition. You can claim your success, internalize your competence, and trust that you belong. Not because you've finally done enough, but because you were always enough. The scarcity you experienced in childhood was real, but it's not reality now. You get to decide that you're good enough, even if no one told you that when you needed to hear it the most. So if this episode resonated with you, please take a moment to rate and subscribe to the show. I also ask that you subscribe to my newsletter, All the Hard Things, on Substack. I send a newsletter out every Thursday, and that's another way that you can continue to learn from me. You can also grab a copy of my book, Owning Our Struggles. It's available everywhere books are sold, and links to my newsletter as well as my book can be found in the show description. Now, here's what I really want you to remember today. Imposter syndrome is rooted in childhood scarcity and competition. You internalize that you're not good enough because you watched others receive what you couldn't access. But that wasn't about your worth. It was about an inequitable system. You don't have to keep earning your place. You are always good enough, even when no one told you so. Until next time.
A text says, "You're on my mind." A bouquet from 1-800-Flowers says, "You're my everything." Heartfelt moments belong in the real world, not just your phone. For 50 years, 1-800-Flowers has helped millions of people make memories that'll last a lifetime with gifts they'll cherish forever. Their expertly curated arrangements and gift baskets ship nationwide with a 100% satisfaction guarantee. Don't wait for the next big moment. Make it when you visit 1-800-Flowers.com/Spotify today. That's 1-800-Flowers.com/Spotify.